How did language begin? If we want to know when humans started making fire, or cultivating plants, or domesticating animals, we can look for what they left behind when doing those things. But what if we want to know how language began? Language disappears on the air as soon as it's produced. It doesn't get left behind. We will never dig up the first word or discover a fossilized sentence. That hasn't stopped people from speculating about how that first word came about. For centuries, people have put forth theories on it. There's the bow wow theory, that language started from imitation of sounds that things make. There's the poo-poo theory, that it came from automatic vocal responses to fear, pain, surprise, or other emotions. There's the yo-he-ho theory, that it came from rhythmic grunts or chants used to coordinate actions when working on big projects together. There's the la-la theory, that it emerged from the sounds of inspired playfulness, poetic sensibility, and song. This one is lovely, but no more likely than any of the others. By the late 19th century, so much fruitless speculation about the origin of language was going around that the Paris Linguistic Society banned all discussion of the topic in its bylaws. It was fed-up scholars who gave the theories those silly nicknames. But even though language itself doesn't leave a trace, we can tell from fossils when we had the brains and other physical parts that make speech possible. For instance, we can tell when the voice box moved into its current position. Chimps, our closest relatives, have their voice boxes in a higher place, so they can't produce the sounds we can. But they also can't choke on food. We have speech, but we can choke. Evolutionarily speaking, it must have been really worth it to have the lower voice box. So the physical pieces were falling into place 100,000 years ago when we became Homo sapiens. Did we have language then? Maybe. Maybe we first needed to develop better memory or more complex social structures, or other abilities. By the time we were building things that required a lot of coordination, language was probably happening. Once we had the ability to think symbolically enough to make cave paintings, language was probably happening. Maybe it was first a sort of rudimentary toddler-like language. Maybe it started with gestures. Yes, that's a lot of maybes, which should give you some sense of how much people still disagree about this. Humans are the only beings that have language, but we're not the only ones that communicate. Why didn't it develop in other species? Some people think there was a genetic mutation that created an innate language ability. Others think you don't need to assume a sudden mutation, but the right accumulation of other skills, good working memory, fine motor control, skill for pattern recognition and imitation, the ability to imagine other people's minds and make assumptions about what they understand, an impulse towards social cooperation, a long period where the young stay with adults as their brains are still developing. Some animals have some of these things, but humans have all of them. And maybe, if you have all those things together at a certain level, you get language for free on top of that. So how did language begin? We don't know. But sometime between, 100,000 and 10,000 years ago, we started to share our thoughts with each other in words and sentences. Then, we immediately started using it to criticize teenagers for how they were ruining our language. That's what I think anyway. I'm calling it the tisk-tisk theory.